The man named Johnny, with a fortune exceeding $100 million, had ample leisure time. His greatest passion was flirting with women. He wished the entire city was filled with his ex-girlfriends. One day, after a long absence, his mother passed away suddenly. Johnny hurried to the funeral, only to mistakenly weep at a memorial service for an elderly Filipino man. By the time he arrived at the correct location, his mother had already been buried. Following the funeral, his brother handed him a set of keys, urging him to clear out their mother's apartment. Johnny refused, stating he had no belongings there, revealing a strained relationship with his parents. Once, when they asked him to choose with whom to live following their divorce, Johnny, out of anger, chose neither, venturing out on his own. Despite his outward defiance, Johnny visited his mother's apartment, sitting in a wheelchair, listening to a familiar tune. At that moment, a tall, beautiful neighbor heard the music and entered. Even Johnny, experienced as he was, found himself enchanted by her. She introduced herself as a nurse, knowledgeable in caring for the disabled, currently unemployed, affordable, and easily directed. She suggested that if Johnny didn't mind, he could consider hiring her. Unaware that the seasoned Casanova had set his sights on her, Johnny intentionally knocked something over, and while she bent to pick it up, he took the opportunity to overtly scrutinize her. After confirming her appeal, Johnny sought a connection, sharing that his mother had passed days ago. The kind-hearted woman consoled him, little knowing his manipulative intent. After she left, Johnny was elated, instantly forgiving his mother because she had such a perfect neighbor. Unbeknownst to many, this deplorable man was a leading billionaire with over $100 million in net worth and owned 148 sports stores. The woman, named Alessia, cut Johnny's eye. Despite his limp, he frequently visited his old home, feigning sadness over his mother's death to get close to Alessia. While pretending to grieve, he invited her for a drink, only to engage in his schemes. Alessia came to assist, unaware of Johnny's unreserved observation from behind, which invigorated his youthful vigor, causing his blood pressure to soar. More importantly, Alessia was unfazed by Johnny's intrusive actions, accepting them as typical male behavior towards beautiful women. She even indulged him, bringing him immense pleasure. Seeing the opportunity, Johnny decided to seize the moment while the iron was hot and express his feelings for Alessia. To his surprise, Alessia preferred young men, not someone older and disabled like him. Left with no choice, Johnny played his trump card. He boasted about owning 150 chain stores, $1 million bank balance, and a 2,000 square meter mansion, then cheekily asked what she could compare with that. Alessia, sparked by the challenge, invited him over for a weekend meal at her place. The next day, Johnny drove his red convertible to the countryside, stopping a distance from Alessia's home. He then approached her house in his wheelchair, only to be surprised that this family had not one, but two beauties, Alessia's attractive sister Chiara, even more stunning than a fairy. When Chiara opened the car door, Johnny was struck by love at first sight, although Chiara too was in a wheelchair. Alessia eagerly mentioned that her sister was unmarried and childless, hinting at a potential match. Johnny, now realizing that Alessia had set them up, was embarrassed. His limp was fake, and he had no interest in a disabled woman. He just wanted to flirt in peace without such bizarre encounters. After returning home, Johnny recounted his experiences to friends, mentioning the other's beautiful legs. His friends teased him, suggesting his hesitation was because they both used wheelchairs. This taunt stirred Johnny's competitive spirit. He then took the initiative to contact Chiara, inviting her out. When Chiara didn't respond, but unexpectedly showed up at his company, Johnny was caught off guard and later went to watch her tennis match. Forgetting his wheelchair, he ordered his secretary to steal one. That evening, as Johnny watched Chiara's spirited performance, he was genuinely moved. After the match, he invited her to dinner, only to be surprised when she brought along a group of friends. Determined to win her over, Johnny decided to pursue her aggressively, using his wealth and charm to conquer her. His secretary, unable to hold back, advised him that his approach was wrong. Chiara was a smart woman, and she urged Johnny not to pretend to be disabled. Johnny, feeling belittled, claimed to be merely a blank slate in the realm of romance. He dismissively told her not to worry about his intentions. This time, Johnny didn't even bring his wheelchair, instead purchasing a stroller from an old man. He leisurely arrived to watch Chiara's performance. Beyond her physical challenges, Chiara was proficient in arts and music, impressing Johnny deeply. After the performance, they went to a high-end restaurant. When Chiara removed her coat, revealing her elegant figure, Johnny was mesmerized. leading to an uncontrollable incident with the stroller that caused some amusement. Seizing the moment, after dinner, Johnny took Kiara for a stroll, ending up at a hotel. He suggested going up for tea, a thinly veiled innuendo, which even the receptionist found distasteful. But Kiara agreed to go upstairs. After checking into the room, the tension escalated quickly between them, culminating in a passionate kiss. However, when things started to progress further, Kiara halted Johnny, reminding him of her commitments the next day. Johnny, internally panicking, wondered if she suspected his deception, as his condition should technically prevent him from engaging in intimate activities. This led Johnny to consult a doctor friend about his predicament, who advised him to be honorable, especially since he wasn't truly disabled. Despite this advice, Johnny's consideration of his actions depended largely on life's challenges. Johnny, undeterred, called Kiara, arranging another dinner. She accepted eagerly, looking forward to it. The next evening, at Johnny's mansion, Kiara inquired about his disability. Johnny concocted a flimsy excuse, downplaying its seriousness. When Kiara shared her story, she broke down in tears, revealing a side of vulnerability that Johnny hadn't seen before. Despite being known for his frivolous pursuits, in that moment, Johnny felt an urge to be a better person, although this noble thought was fleeting. To win a bet, Johnny pulled out all the stops, preparing a floating mattress for two and orchestrating a romantic dinner. Who could resist such a move? Following this, Johnny took action. Let's leave some details to the imagination. But 30 minutes later, he sent a photo of them together to his friend, boasting of his exploits. His friends berated him, calling him despicable for not even answering Chira's calls. That evening, he pursued another conquest, only to be disappointed, likening the experience to spoiled cabbage. In the days that followed, Johnny found life dull, and his thoughts persistently returned to that woman. He took up running to distract himself, but eventually couldn't resist calling Kiara. They met again, and he expressed a desire to confess something. Overwhelmed with guilt while facing the strong woman before him, he wanted to admit he wasn't disabled. Yet, Johnny feared revealing his likelihood and their relationship. He lacked the courage to face the truth, and it seemed Kiara sensed he had something to confess, but let it go. Kiara opened up about her past, how her ex-boyfriend cheated on her after she had an accident, making her detest liars the most. Now, Johnny was in a dilemma about what to do next. Meanwhile, Alexia, Chira's sister, frequently visited their neighbor and got to know Johnny's brother. They shared stories, and she learned of Johnny's deception, becoming furious and confronting him. She gave Johnny 2 days to confess to her sister or face dire consequences. Struggling for words, Johnny couldn't articulate a confession and suggested Alexia do it for him, which only enraged her more. When she went home, she probed her sister about leaving Johnny. Kiara casually inquired if Alexia intended to reveal Johnny's ability to walk. Kiara had known all along. Given how long her injury had healed, it was impossible not to notice Johnny's pretense. Kiara chose to turn a blind eye to preserve the beautiful moments they shared, finding joy in their companionship, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a while. She decided to cherish these memories, even if one day Johnny grew tired and left. The next day, Johnny took Kiara on the Sunset Red tour, continuing his pretense in the wheelchair. At the church gate, perhaps sensing his deceit, a priest called him aside and confronted him about his lie, noting that his shoes showed signs of use and that his legs were capable of walking. The priest emphasized that people come to the church seeking hope and urged Johnny not to extinguish that hope. Just then, as Kiara crossed the street, a car approached rapidly. Without time to think, Johnny sprang into action to save her, revealing his ability to walk. Kiara, seeking an explanation, watched silently as Johnny struggled to find words. She left alone, disappointed. Adding to his woes, Johnny's affair with his friend's wife was exposed, resulting in a confrontation and a beating. His unethical behavior led to the disappearance of his friends from his life. Overwhelmed with guilt, he went to his mother's grave to repent, only to realize he was at the wrong grave. In the absence of Kiara, Johnny lost interest in everything, feeling a profound emptiness. Finally, Johnny decided to pursue Kiara again. Since she wasn't answering his calls, he drove to her old home, only to find her grandmother, who informed him that Kiara wasn't there. Impatient and eager to find her, Johnny pressed the grandmother for Chira's whereabouts, expressing a desperate desire to embrace her forever. Sensing his urgency, the grandmother revealed that Kiara had a performance at the theater, and he might still catch her there. Johnny hurried off, eventually stopping the bus Kiara was on. When he approached her to speak, Kiara stopped him, asserting that despite her physical disability, She was capable of caring for herself and didn't need someone like him. Disheartened, Johnny accepted the reality that their paths were no longer intertwined and left the bus. Back home, Johnny continued his running routine, hoping to distract himself. Yet, he couldn't shake off his memories of Kiara. It seemed she had cast some sort of spell on him, deeply ingraining herself in his mind. Then, one day, Kiara reappeared, challenging him on his resignation and considering it a just punishment for his lies. Afterward, Johnny reformed his ways and lived happily with Kiara. This concludes the story of the romantic comedy, I Run to You. What do you think of this film? If you like it, comment with a 1. If you find it average, comment with a 2. Thank you for your interest and attention. Goodbye, and see you again.